Welcome back. My name is Miranda and today we are going to make a super simple, easy, beginner sourdough bread from start to finish. You're going to need 4 things: some water, your sourdough starter, salt, and bread flour. So let's get making this. So I do use a kitchen scale to measure all my ingredients. So go ahead and get your kitchen scale out and then place your bowl on it and then zero it out. And we are going to add 100 grams of our starter. And you want to make sure your starter is active. I fed this morning about a little before 8 o'clock and it is 12:18 and it is definitely doubled in size and ready to use. And then zero out your scale. And then I'm going to use 350 grams of water. And this is around like 90 degrees. You don't want it too hot because you don't want to cook your starter. And then after you have this together, go ahead and give it a good mix. Zero out your scale again, and then add 500 grams of bread flour. Go ahead and mix this together. This is what it's looking like. So I'm gonna incorporate this as well as I can before I add the salt. And then zero out your scale again and add 10 grams of salt. And then I'm gonna get rid of my scale. And then now what we're gonna do is just knead this all together for like 3 to 5 minutes. And you wanna do it for a good 3 to 5 minutes. So I just work my way around the bowl and knead it all together. And it is going to be sticky at this point too. As we do our stretch and folds, you'll notice that your dough will become less sticky. Okay, so now that I have that incorporated pretty well, I just go ahead and scrape all the dough off my hands. So now you're just gonna wanna cover your dough. I just use a shower cap because it's pretty easy. You can use like a damp towel. And we're gonna let this rest for 30 minutes and then come back and do 3 rounds of stretch and folds. We are gonna do our first round of stretch and folds. So go ahead and wash your hands and then keep them wet. So go ahead and remove your cover. And then what you're gonna do is just grab one side of your dough and you're gonna pull it up and fold it in. And then turn your bowl a fourth, same thing, pull it up, fold it in. And you're gonna repeat this all the way around your bowl. You'll notice that it's sticky right now, so that's why you want your hands wet. So now that we have that done, go ahead and cover. We're gonna let it rest again for 30 minutes and then come back and do round 2. Time to do round 2 of our stretch and folds, and we're gonna do the same thing. Go ahead and grab your dough, pull it up, and fold it in. You'll notice it's a lot less stickier this time. And then cover and come back again in 30 minutes and we'll do our final round of stretch and folds. Let's do our last round of stretch and folds. So again, same thing from the last 2, but you'll notice that the dough is really not sticky at all this time. And then go ahead and cover. Now that I've done all 3 rounds of my stretch and folds, I'm just gonna let my dough rest for about 6 to 12 hours. It totally depends on how warm your house is how long the bulk fermentation process will take. I've noticed that in my house, it normally takes between like 6 and 8 hours. So we'll come back and then after that, we will shape it then. So my dough has been sitting for a little over 6 hours, but it does look ready to shape. I have some bubbles on top and it's really jiggly. So let's shape it. First thing I'm gonna do is lightly sprinkle the countertop with some flour. Also add some flour to your banneton. And then get your dough out on your countertop. So what I like to do is pull it out to a rectangle and then I fold it into thirds. Then after this, I roll it up. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna push away and then when you bring it back towards you, tuck it under. And then as you're doing this, you're rotating your dough. So push it away from you, tuck it under. And then you have that nice little ball. I add a little bit of flour on top. And then I always like to use this little scrape thing to pick it up. And then you're gonna set it in your banneton. And if you have any creases like this, you can just take it and just fold it, like cross it, and it will get those closed. Next, go ahead and cover. And I will place this in the fridge and then I'll cook it tomorrow, either in the morning or afternoon. I'm going to bake my bread now. It is actually noon the next day. So if you don't have time that morning to cook your bread, you are completely fine to cook it anytime that day. I'm gonna get me some parchment paper out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put this right on here. And then you're gonna score your bread. You at least want one deep cut, but then you can do designs on it too. I have found that I actually just like to hold my razor blade instead of putting it on this little thing. And I did preheat my oven to 450 degrees with my cast iron in it. Put that in there. So I'm gonna cook this in the oven on 450 degrees for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to remove the lid and then turn down the temperature to 400 and cook it for another 15 to 20 minutes. And there we go, it is all done. Look at how pretty she is. So the biggest thing is make sure it completely cools before you cut it. So I normally let it cool for about 2 hours. I will put the full recipe in the description below, and then make sure you join me for more recipes.